New revelations about a federal investigation into Hunter Biden are raising new questions about how the incoming Biden administration will deal with the matter. Federal officials are looking into the president-elect's son's taxes. Hunter Biden publicly made the announcement last week and maintains he handled his affairs legally and appropriately. Meanwhile, news that Attorney General William Barr kept investigations out of the public drew harsh criticism from President Trump. He's now looking into a special counsel to investigate Mr. Biden's son. For more on all of this, I want to bring in CBSN legal analyst Rebecca Roiphe. She's also a professor of law at New York Law School. Rebecca, thank you so much for being with us. How could we potentially see an Attorney General and Justice Department under President-elect Joe Biden handle this investigation into Hunter Biden while avoiding political bias? It just seems so complicated when you look at that.
It does seem complicated, but it only seems complicated because of the lens of the last 4 years that we've lived through. President-elect Biden has promised that he's going to resume normal relations between the president and the Department of Justice. And those normal relations would mean that he would allow prosecutors to pursue their cases without interfering in those investigations. So I would assume, assuming he keeps that promise, that he then will stay out of that case, not ask about it, not comment about it, certainly not make public comments or tweet, and allow those line prosecutors to do their work. He said publicly, I'm proud of my son. He hasn't made even that. Even in saying that, he didn't make any announcement or proclamation about his innocence. And that's a beginning of a tone that he's setting that is the appropriate tone that a president should have to the ongoing investigations within the Department of Justice.
So the indications are, from your perspective, Rebecca, you think that those matters would be allowed to continue. Things also like the Durham investigation, which is something that we've heard a bit more about here in recent months.
Right. Again, the way that this is done is that the president should stay out of any investigation, any individual investigation. It's not to say that what's appropriate. It's appropriate for the White House to pass on its policy priorities and have its attorney general make sure that those priorities are implemented through the Department of Justice. But traditionally, we have a strict division between the elected officials and prosecution. And there's a reason for that, because we want investigations and prosecutions to proceed on the law and the facts, not based on the biases or personal interests of those in power. And so assuming that he, assuming that he resumes that tradition, we should see both of those investigations proceed as they would have and resolve in, as they would according to the facts and the law.
Well, as we mentioned, President Trump slammed Attorney General Barr for keeping investigations into Hunter Biden private. Why was this kept under wraps, and what could have been the consequences of making this information public?
Right. So there's a long-standing Department of Justice policy, and the policy actually stems from exactly what we were just talking about, which is the importance of keeping prosecution away from political partisan interest. And so that policy says that the Department of Justice should not make any public announcement or take any public steps in an ongoing investigation if those steps or that announcement would affect an approaching election. And this is a moment in which Bill Barr has actually served the purpose that an attorney general is supposed to serve in preserving the independence of the Department of Justice. By not doing that, he kept the partisan politics out of that ongoing investigation. Now, the prosecutors can pursue it, and if they're is something in the end, they can make those proper steps. But there's no reason. In most cases, there's no public announcement mid-investigation, and there's a special interest in that, where here that announcement could affect an upcoming election.
So Deputy Attorney General Jeff Rosen will lead the department once Attorney General Barr departs next week. Could we see Rosen take action with regard to President Trump's push for a special counsel to investigate Hunter Biden or the president's allegations of voter fraud in the election?
I mean, I'd be shocked. I guess anything could happen. It is 2020 where things can surprise you, but I'd be shocked. I mean, he has remained particularly behind the scenes. I mean, given how prominent Barr has been, both in the media and in public, in terms of making public announcements about many of his steps, Jeffrey Rosen has been quiet. And I don't think he has any interest or any hunger, especially at the end of his term, to jump into politics in this particular way. Now, again, I could be surprised, but it would be inappropriate right now to appoint a special prosecutor, because the special prosecutor, special counsel, those regulations are designed to create an investigation that would be more insulated from politics, not more motivated by politics. So if he were to appoint a special counsel here, and that special counsel were to either pursue Hunter Biden or to further pursue the Russia probe, that would seem not like a way in which we could insulate prosecution from politics, but rather a way in which we could infuse politics into prosecution. And that's exactly the opposite of why we have these regulations. So he understands that. I really would be surprised if he ended up in any way appointing a special prosecutor here. But, again, who knows?
Who knows? Finally, Rebecca, I want to ask about Attorney General Barr's resignation. As we talked about before, Barr had once been one of the president's staunchest, most vocal, most prominent public allies. Talk to us a little bit about how the relationship changed these past few months, and what is going to be William Barr's legacy when it comes to the United States Department of Justice?
That is such an interesting and hard question. In some ways, I would summarize my response as to saying that in a way, Bill Barr has tried to split the baby. So he has in some ways done the bidding of the president in a way that's been alarming and shocking to those of us who watch this. He has infused what, political partisan interests into prosecution in a way that has seriously damaged the Department of Justice and its legitimacy. I think he will be remembered for that. Yet here he is at the end of his term making two public steps in the opposite direction. One, as we were just talking about, by following Department of Justice policy and refusing to make an announcement about the ongoing investigation into Hunter Biden prior to the election. And two, by making this announcement that there was no wide scale, that the Department of Justice has looked into it, and there is no wide scale election fraud that could have affected the outcome of this election. Both of those steps are steps that an attorney general who is independent from the president might make. So how do we make sense of that, especially with his outgoing letter, which was so odd, such a sycophantic letter, is not our normal resignation letter. So clearly he's trying to build bridges to the professional legal community to try to insist on his, having this reputation among the legal community of doing what his job and doing what he was supposed to do in protecting the Department of Justice, but at the same time maintain his connections to President Trump. And did he do that, or did he split the baby in such a way as he has severed ties with both of those constituencies? It kind of remains to be seen.
All right, Rebecca Roiphe, always so valuable to have your insight. Thank you, Rebecca.
So nice to see you.